right? We are all under a government that says one of their pillars is what? Property owning democracy. Okay. Well, every 4 years we vote. So the democracy part, in theory, we are doing it. Aka property owning, no? And that is where the difficulty comes from. Today's guest is somebody who is, peerless when it comes to conversations about land and land law. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana School of Law, which is at Legon. He's a private legal practitioner. He's a consultant. He's head of chambers at Kwame Gyan and Associates. Have I given you enough clues? Of course, it's lawyer Kwame Gyan. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's always good to have you.
Good morning.
Last week, you started a bit of an earthquake with conversations at the launch of the Habitat Fair. You raised lots of important questions, and we got great feedback from our audience, which is why we're so glad you're able to join us today. Today, it's all about our audience and the big questions on their minds. They will certainly be calling and texting through so that we can help them out with their issues. But one of the things you said last week that really put the cat among the pigeons. Your advice was, look, rather than going out into the Wild West to buy land for yourself, which you might end up having to pay for twice or three times, buy some already built property or something in an estate. And this morning in our conversation, the question came up that, look, is this not allowing the state, which should be solving that problem, is this not allowing them to get away with it while we try and find some private solution, when really we ought to be able to go out there and buy properly demarcated, registered land and have no issues whatsoever? Is the state not getting away with it?
For those of us who are university people, we are required by our contracts to do what is called extension services.
Yeah.
In fact, if you apply for promotion, you have to indicate how much time you have put into extension services and what activities you have been engaging in for those extension services. So what I'm doing here is a duty incumbent on me as a University of Ghana senior member to do this. If you teach the law in the classroom, the law has to come out into the public domain. And so these kinds of interactions not only bring the law out here, but it also enriches the national conversation on what is important and what is not important. So going to your question, it appears that we have been overwhelmed by the land question. We started trying to fix this land question with the promulgation of the land policy document in 1999. So it was the land policy document which provided the base for the implementation of the land reforms project, which is the Land Administration 1 and Land Administration number 2. And around the time of implementation, I was a very key figure in the implementation. And the plan was that we would undertake certain reforms. Out of those reforms, over the next 25 years, we're going to see some real changes on the ground. So these reforms produce 3 pieces of legislation. One was the Lands Commission Act. The second was the Land Use and Planning Act. And the third was the Land Act.
Okay.
So the Lands Commission Act deals with the institutional arrangements for the land sector. This was the point where the previously separate entities were merged under a singular Lands Commission, which has what we call now a common depository of records. So about 4-5 agencies were merged into one. to create a one-stop service center. Very nice idea. Then planning was ring-fenced with an interface with land management and land administration. So the Land Use and Planning Authority was set up.
Right.
And then the Lands Act was passed to provide for revised rules for land administration and land management. That is why I have always been saying that if it comes to the legal and institutional framework, it's complete. We don't need new laws again to try to deal with the system. We don't. Where we are, we have to take steps to enforce or implement our laws. So for the land sector legal architecture, it's in place. And it's been so designed that if we were going to enforce what we have, most of our problems will not be with us. But you see, last time the comment that I made, which has become a source of contention, I still stand by it. I said, given the totality of the circumstances we find ourselves in, given all the odds now, you are always better off dealing with an estate person who has already disentangled the bulk of your issues, or who would have that capacity to be able to deal with most of your issues. So for example, Reggie Manuel Gray versus an individual buyer. Reggie Manuel Gray certainly, or Ernesto Tariconi Trasaco, has more muscle to deal with some of the mundane issues than a single individual buyer. So by the time that you get to that real estate person, most of the issues would have been resolved. I'm not saying that their system is foolproof. No. You could still have some weak links within the real estate system,
as we have seen happen before.
Oh yes, you cannot have that 100% foolproof. But given all the odds, I was telling Mama V earlier, I said it is the lesser of a multiple set of evils. I'm not saying it is the lesser of two evils. No, multiple evils.
Yeah, but lawyer, why don't we fix it? So why don't we fix the problems? You've talked about the legal architecture in place. What is left is enforcement. Why are we transferring this enforcement from the state, all of us collectively, to individuals?
Now let's start with one leg first. Let me take you to the planning leg first. Our democracy is built around the subdivisions of the state into municipal, metropolis, and districts.
Yeah.
In the wisdom of the framers of our laws, they set out statutory benchmarks for all of these subdivisions. So for example, in the old Local Governance Act, the one that has been replaced in 2016, the 1993 Act,
Yeah.
it was clearly stated, and it's been reproduced verbatim, that for a district assembly, you need a certain population threshold,
Yeah.
75,000. A municipal, 95,000. A metropolis, 250,000. Interestingly, Winston, it is possible that some of our district assemblies, if you were applying this strict statutory benchmark, may not even qualify. In the previous legislation, it was stated that prior to the creation of the assembly, it should be established that the resources that will be generated from within the jurisdiction
Yeah.
of that assembly should be sufficient for its own maintenance.
Economically viable.
Exactly. So the economic viability of these subdivisions were put in statutory requirement. Why do you think that the framers said for you to set up an assembly, the resources there should be sufficient so that there will not be net transfers from the central government to go and pay assemblies, to buy cars for MCs? So these subdivisions were given primary responsibility for planning. The assemblies are the primary planning authorities for their respective jurisdictions. So go back to the question, what are their capacities?
Tell me.
Who do we put there to go and head the assemblies?
Tell me.
But you know the people we put there. If you contest an election normally and you don't win, you are made an MC or DC. In some cases, if you're a party chairman and you want it, you got the first preference.
Yeah.
So if the party chairman bounced it off, then it goes to another person. But otherwise, the party chairman could become the MC. This is supposed to be miniature republics. So you should ensure that qualitatively, because the failures of the subdivisions is what is also fueling the failure of the bigger picture. So who is ensuring the planning function is delivered at the local level? Nobody. To the extent that even property taxation, which should have been the base in terms of the economic viability of the assemblies, has been taken away by the Ghana Revenue Authority because of the lack of capacity of the assemblies to collect property taxes. So you were talking earlier when I was coming to the studio about state failure.
Yes.
It's not just about a top failure. Let's go back. That's why I've taken you to the base. The base.
So it's an issue of incompetence?
It's the capacity. I won't say incompetence.
Well, I mean,
because in this country, incompetence has a certain meaning. You remember in the 2016 election, incompetence, anybody who said somebody was incompetent, it raised all kinds of issues. I don't want us to use incompetence.
But I mean, let's be real. We're talking about a role that requires, multiple skills and, expertise. Because you are essentially, like you said, running a small republic.
Yes.
So you have to understand all kinds of things from planning and zoning to taxation. You have to understand economics because you must run that economy in a way that funds itself and generates wealth for so your that community.
It will have a domino effect on the bigger picture.
So you require competencies to do this. But we are, as you have pointed out, we're giving it out as a political reward to people who are untrained, unskilled. So really, it is a competence conversation we're having here.
I'm happy you have mentioned rewards. That's what it has been in primarily in this country. Most appointments are rewards. At least me coming from a university, I know that my appointment is based on my competence. But the other appointments that all of us know are rewards. And that's one of the reasons we are like this.
So what's the point of failure at that local level? What are they doing wrong there?
The lack of capacity, particularly human capacity. If the assemblies had adequate human capacity, they could even do better in revenue mobilization and kind of get more self-sufficiency and get to the standard which is the expectation of the framers of our constitution. You remember some time ago there was an attempt by one of the previous governments not to send salaries to the assemblies. They were about all collapsing. You see, so if the assemblies are the primary planning authorities embedded in the Ministry of Local Government, now when you come to the national level, ask yourself who has responsibility for the National Land Use and Planning Authority in terms of ministerial responsibility.
Who does?
At the time that this legislation was passed, ministerial responsibility was in the Ministry of Environment and Science, not in the Ministry of Local Government. So at the unit, reporting is to the Ministry of Local Government through the MCE at that level. So the planning authority is within the Ministry of Local Government. But in terms of national, not Ministry of Local Government, Ministry of Environment and and Science.
Okay. So we get back to the state failure. Now you've advised, go to areas where they can actually fight on your behalf. The people say, we don't even have what it takes to get these facilities. And I mean, before we're having a conversation about our responsibilities. Our constitution gives responsibilities. All of us have a role to play, including the security agencies, including the Lands Commission, including the Assembly, in ensuring that when lands are sold, they're sold to one person, and that nobody goes out there in the dark and break buildings as a land guard, isn't it?
Yes, but you see, go back to the Constitution. Our Article 267, 3, it says you cannot allocate stool land in this country unless the Regional Lands Commission in the region where the land is located has certified that the use and allocation is consistent with a development plan which has been approved in the district.
Yes.
You see, that is why I am taking you back all again to the district. It means that you cannot allocate land for development unless it's been planned. So, if we were going according to this formula, then the state should find a role in this. If the assemblies don't have all the funds, how much is central government going to bring to ensure that there is a road, that water has been extended, electricity has been extended? Then whoever is going to be building that estate, or who is the landowner, would ensure that if the state is bringing these services, how will that lead to a reduction in the price for the purchasers? So you don't leave, you see, it is not a laissez-faire system. The state can't go to sleep and think that economics alone will fix it. You see, so it's not that simple. If, for example, the real estate person or the landowner who says that this is my area has decided to go and cut plots and sell, why? The law does not allow you to cut plots and sell without approvals. We should simply enforce the laws.
All right. Well, Lawyer Kwame Gyan has already made this point forcefully, that our laws are beautifully written. They are all perfectly in place. If we were enforcing them, but we are not enforcing our laws. And our laws, look, I keep saying this, that when you are building in this country, even if you are building a hut in your back garden, there are 13 different stages at which your local authority must come and inspect and sign off before you can continue to the next stage. You guys listening, you are all building somewhere in this country. Has the local authority come 13 times to come and check to make sure you've done the right thing before you move on? Has it happened?
Yes, but let me also intervene. If you look at Article 41 of our Constitution, it sets out, this is one of the few constitutions in the world that sets out duties for the citizens. We too, Ghanaians, have duties under Article 41. In fact, I was showing Winston, one of the duties of a Ghanaian citizen is to conscientiously do the duty of your vocation. Do it well. So when you wake up, yes, the duties of your station in life. I am a teacher. I have to do it well so that my students will say that Mr. Kwame Gyan teaches well. You working here, Do it well. Don't come in and sit and interview, not even appreciating the subject matter and not knowing what question to ask your guest. So it's a duty of the citizen to pay taxes, defend the constitution, speak good things about the country. Ghanaians could sit on radio and TV and for political reasons would say things about this country as if we should carry this country into a Zoom Lion baller pit.
Of all the baller
We
pits.
have a duty. So when we talk about the failure of the state, it is our collective failure. I would insist on this all the time. It is our collective failure. People think that the state is the president. He is the managing director of the state, and the constitution says every year he has to give information to parliament as to the steps he has taken to ensure the achievement of the objectives.
You've also talked about duties.
Yes.
And everybody's chosen vocation or
so he too has to do his work.
Has to do it well. So
yes.
everybody. So those who are not doing it well, we must call them out.
It seems we are in agreement on that. Listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it'll be your turn to join the conversation. You yourself, you and your duties. You'll be joining our conversation as well with your questions, with your issues. What beggars belief for you? What are the things that you can't quite wrap your head around? What are your main issues in your own bid to own property in this country?
Your morning radio.
On the Super Morning Show, our guest is lawyer Kwame Gyan. No further explanation required. We're talking land, so of course he is the number one authority in this country on the subject. We're trying to figure it all out. Okay, why does it seem like the Wild West when it comes to the purchase of land and property in this country? I mean, something that we've written the most beautiful laws to govern still seems to happen in such a lawless way. People are paying twice, 3 times for the same plot of land. People are buying homes and having to rebuild them because of poor quality. People are being driven off their own land by people with guns and knives simply because someone else wants it. It's a crazy environment, and we don't understand why. I'm sure you have faced your own issues, your own headaches, even in your bid to regularize the land that you've bought. What have the authorities been doing and saying to you in your bid to do the right thing? We want to hear your questions, your concerns, your conundrums. We'll get you answers right here from lawyer Kwame Gyan. Call us now on 0302 216 541 or 055 1111 997. 0302 216 541 055 1111 997. We have lawyer Gyan for a short period of time, so let's take advantage of it. All right, for our first call, we're going to Nungwa. Hello, Desmond. Good morning.
Good morning, Winston.
Yes, it's Kojo and Winston. Thank you very much for calling.
So then one name goes to the two.
Yeah, you see. Lawyer Gyan is also here. What's your question?
Lawyer. God bless you so much, okay? You see, look at such wonderful presentation and ideas that one has in this country. But we can never implement it because the failures of these assemblies are the solutions for some other big men. The laws that we are not able to implement are where people are making their money. So it will be like this. You can never use a car which you buy with your own money without going through the due process. Get it registered, have the insurance intact, you're already intact. Because there is a body that is helping to check everything. Why is there? We have an housing ministry. We have a rent control. But people build houses and they do what they like with it. Yet there are laws that they need to be implemented on these areas. What is the rent control controlling? Nothing. What is the housing ministry doing? Nothing. And these fine brains are in this system to help us allocate ourselves where we can lay our heads. But if we are to implement them, those big shops will not have their solution monies. So they will sit down aloof and watch these things go the way it's going. So lawyer, with the brain, let's keep educating. And one day, things will turn around. Thank you so much, and may God bless you.
Thank you, Desmond. Thanks for calling us. Abu Mohammed is in Japan. Abu Mohammed, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Kojo.
Thanks for calling us.
Yes, me, I am a chief. And Kojo, you come to me, you want to buy land. I collect your money and I sell the land to you. Now the land doesn't belong to me anymore. So if Winston come back and I sell the same land to Winston, which means I'm a thief because I have sold something that doesn't belong to me. So why should me and you and Quincy go to court and be fighting over an issue that me have caused it? Why should that happen? So if one chief sold land to 3 people or 4 people, then the chief must be arrested, then the first buyer, the owner, then the rest have their money. And then secondly, some of the people who buy land from multiple people, they intentionally do it that way. Because when they do it that way, it go in their favor. It's not like they don't know the right thing. They know the right thing. They know the real owner of the property. But they will intentionally play that chess game, then it is in their favor. So many intentionally do so. But although the favor I want you to do for me, please, is to arrange. I know it is difficult to talk to a person like that. But please do me this favor and arrange me. I really, really need an advice from him. If you can, please do that for me.
All right, Abu Mohammed, thank you for your call. We'll see what is possible. Shall we go to Adan? Hello, Chris. Did we lose Chris? Chris in Adan, good morning. Yeah, I think we must have lost Chris from Adan. Call us back if you can. I have no doubt you've got an important question for our guest. You can call us to 0302 216 541 055 1111 997. Lawyer Kwame Gyan is our guest.
And did you know that MTN Momo now has an app? Yes, Momo now has an app specially designed to make your Momo experience easier, convenient, and faster. Just download the Momo app on Play Store, App Store on your smartphone, and look out for the blue and yellow icon. It's that simple. Momo allows you to view your statements, pay bills, and so much more. Use the app for your Momo transactions and enjoy a 100% bonus when you recharge using the Momo app. So go on, download the MTN Momo app and start transacting with a flex at no data cost. Just Momo it everywhere you go.
Now, for huge discounts and free gifts, visit Electroland showrooms and authorized dealers for all of your needs in household, electrical, and electronic goods. So wherever you live, there's an Electroland showroom or a dealer's shop close to you. Just look out for Samsung, Midea, TCL, and NASCO signs, and you're assured that your search is over. If you want to know more, call 0503 159 739 or go to electrolandgh.com. Electroland, home of luxury and affordable electronics. All right, Ampofo is on the line from Dome. Hi, Ampofo. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Not bad at all, my brother. What's your question?
Yeah, my question was on Article 41, the duty of a citizen. Okay, I've read it, and I want to ask a question about what is the rule, or is it necessary to have a council of state? And what are the benefits to the state?
Okay. Thank you, Ampofo. So his question is whether or not it's necessary to have a council of state, right? Okay. All right. And what is their benefit? Okay. Okay. Good one. All right. You can call us to 0302 216 541 055 1111 997. I'm made to understand that we're resolving a problem with our line. So in the meantime, shall we deal with these 3 callers?
The first gentleman was talking about multiple transactions. Multiple transactions became criminal in the old law, 1962 Land Registry Act. So at that time, it was classified as a felony, a second-degree felony. So it's a very serious crime to sell land to more than one person, or to sell land which you have no authority to sell.
Right.
Now, in the Land Act, the old law was repealed, and Section 12 of the Land Act has taken its place with even stiffer punishment. So it takes you back to the same problem. Some people think that if you do multiple transactions, it's not criminal, it's civil. And in fact, in some cases, the police, when these cases are reported, they say it's a civil matter.
Wow.
Not long ago, about a month ago, I had a conversation with the Director General CID, and she's giving me his word that he will be commissioning me to hold seminars for police people in this area regarding the criminalization of multiple transactions and double sales, because they are trying to set up property flow units in particular police stations across the country.
Interesting. Lawyer,
Yes.
if you don't mind, I'd love for you to hold on to the rest of your answer to that first question, because Juliana is holding from Kumasi. We don't want her to spend too much time on the line. Let's take her question. Juliana, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, thanks for tuning into Love FM, Juliana. What's your question?
My question is that, please, I want to know who does rezoning and what is the criteria for rezoning?
Who does
Rezoning.
rezoning? Okay,
Yes.
okay. All
And
right.
another question is that, can the people in an area determine where road passes? A road. Meanwhile, there is a site plan and a laid down route at the place. But can the people build on a road and determine where an actual road passes?
Great questions, Juliana. We'll get you some answers. And I think we've got Chris back from Adan. Hi, Chris. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for trying again. What's your question?
I think lawyer. Let me first comment lawyer because he has done an extensive job this morning. These are the kind of programs we want to have to listen to or watch every morning when you wake up, so that it teaches us how to become good citizens. My question is, I want to know the role of this National Development Planning committee or association of it. Their duties with respect to the discussion being made this morning, because the issues about the district assembly. I have a cold store at Adan. I took a permit before I set up my container, and these people will always come every year. That apart from they coming for business operating permit, I'm supposed to go and renew the permit itself. So apart from the permit, I have to renew the permit. One day they came and I asked them that I wanted to plead if they could actually help me with the transaction or the payment I've made, the statement of the payment I've made for about 10 years now. All the payment I've made. Can I have a statement which will indicate that indeed I'm actually making payment to the right coffers? Because lawyer rightly said we are supposed to pay our taxes and then help the nation develop. But because of that particular question, as at now, the assembly has not come back to my shop. So you ask yourself that the assembly, apart from their incompetence in managing the normal affairs, you go to my place, people build anyhow. We will all be using a particular street as the recognized street that everybody passes. Before you realize, somebody blocks it and builds that. The street that we all used to know is in his land. So that particular part become blocked. And I stay close to these people that give this permit, those that when you build your house, they'll come and produce permit. They write it. I stay close to one of them. I will always go and bring this man. And then nothing is being done about it. It's like a normal thing that is going on at the assembly level. Apart from even the mismanagement of fund, or we don't know where all this fund goes to. So in fact, it's a big issue for a national discussion. And as for this particular topic, I think we will have to revisit it so that people can actually bring out real life situations like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris from Adan, and I'm sure Mamavi will agree. It's always a good day when you get Dick from 2nd D. Dick, good morning.
Good morning, Kojo.
How is 2nd D this morning?
Oh, 2nd D is cool, bro.
It's been a long time. What's on your mind?
Yes, bro. I want to know the right procedure in registering land at Land Commission. Because it's like anytime you go there to register land, anybody who takes the document from you will place his percentage on the price. The actual price you may be allowed to pay. So
say that again, Dick. Repeat that.
When you go to
Everybody.
land commission to register a land, anybody who takes the document from you to start the process from you will place his percentage on the price, the actual price.
Right.
Yeah, so as high as even 1,000 cities and over. So we want to actual the right procedure in registering land at Lands Commission.
Okay. We'll ask lawyer Kwame Gyan to walk us through that. Maybe we have time for one more caller, and then lawyer can answer our questions. Let's talk to John in Accra. Hi, John. Good morning.
Good morning, Kojo.
Thanks for calling us, John.
Yes, Kojo, I wanted to find out from lawyer if an indenture can be about 10 years and above than a site plan. I wanted to find out if an indenture can go through the process at Lands Commission, which is more than 10 years than the site plan. What are the implications?
Okay, all right. Thank you, John, and thanks to all of you who called us. Dick, Chris, Juliana, Ampofo, Abu Mohammed, and Desmond. All right, lawyer.
John. I started with John.
You want to start with John? Okay.
Yes. You know, Kojo, his question is a difficult question. Under normal circumstances, an indenture comes with a site plan because in the body of the indenture, there is what we call a schedule. The schedule describes the land. The coordinates of the land are described in a prose in the schedule. And that schedule refers to a site plan which is attached and marked with the area concerned in pink. So the indenture comes with a site plan. So I am not comfortable about a 10-year space between the indenture and the site plan. It is possible that the site plan was the old version, and after they got the indenture and the site plan, they did not go through a registration process. So if you subsequently in this day submit, you have to go and get a barcoded plan, and they will give it the date on which it was done. So if, for example, you got an old system plan and you kept the document for 10 years, you want to register it now, you have to go and get a modern site plan with a barcode which is computer readable, and it is part of the changes that are taking place in the land sector to ensure that the plan is actually what is on the ground. Because when you have a barcoded plan which can be read by the computer, all the data on the survey would be produced. They know, so when they read on the machine, it tells them that indeed this plan was prepared by our people.
But if somebody has an indenture with a 10-year,
the indenture is 10 years older than the site plan, ordinarily there is a problem.
Interesting. All right.
And someone said, if you present a document to the Lands Commission, everybody who works on it has their percentage on it.
Dick from Second D.
Now, Kojo, you know, during the land reforms, we try to avoid something like this. The whole idea of setting up a customer center, a client service unit within the Lands Commission, I was one of the people who believed that there is too much human interface. The customer and staff of the commission interface. Kojo, if you apply to get a visa from the British High Commission, after you submit your application, do you ever have contact with the person who put the stamp in your passport?
Nope.
So I was one of the people who advocated that the Lands Commission should just have a front office, and the document processing center should be taken away from Accra and put in some place, a security place. The documents will be received in Accra for processing. You will not see anybody who works on it. Just drop off your document and go. You don't need to be walking through the corridors of the Lands Commission to push your document. Because that's where the problem is. That human thing. You know, we humans, particularly Ghanaians, I don't know. In fact, there are some people, even if you don't ask them to pay you a bribe, they want to pay a bribe. Because they think that unless they paid, nothing will happen.
Yeah.
So they attempt now to reduce that human interface and ultimately to remove it. Because you see, we should get to a point in land administration whereby a conveyancer will sit in their office and submit a document for registration from their computer. We went, at the time that we started the land reform project, we traveled to the UK, to Her Majesty's Land Registry. It was happening 17, 20 years ago. So in the Land Act, provision has been made for electronic conveyancing, for online so what we have to do as a country is that when we put the laws in place, we should roll the laws out. Maybe not necessarily rolling out in the whole country at a go, but we can pilot and roll out as we go. So you pilot maybe Greater Accra, Ashanti, then you move to maybe Western gradually. Because look, the British have been doing titling for more than a century. They have not finished titling the whole of the UK. They started titling more than 100 years ago. They have not completed titling the whole country. So we should start somewhere and continue somewhere so that successive governments will make financial provision for the continuation. You know, that's the difference between them and us. That when they have a national program, it will continue, notwithstanding that governments have changed.
Yeah.
But here, when there's a change of government, maybe the other government are putting money for rolling out titling. The next government thinks that they are not interested in titling. They are interested in something else.
They are not interested in the company that has been contracted.
Or the company that got the title was not one of their favorites. So they have to go and maybe cut that contract. We pay the judgment debts, and then after the judgment debt, we start another procurement, which may not be completed before the term ends, and then we are like this.
Right.
Then there was somebody else who said, who determines when you rezone?
Yeah. That was.
But before we go there,
Juliana.
let's go to the question on National Development Planning Commission.
Okay. Chris from Adan had
It's
that
one
question.
of the finest institutions that was created under our constitution. It was supposed to be the clearinghouse for all the development plans that would originate from the local, which is, so we start from the districts, municipal and metropolis. Then all the plans from the district are collated at the region and into a regional development plan, and then all the regional plans are brought to Accra to be collated as the national plan. So you remember what I said earlier, it's not about the absence of the frameworks. You know, at a certain point, the National Development Planning Commission became a place where if the system finds you unworthy, and they will put you there. I hope that is being reformed. It is one organization that could be very useful, providing for national planning frameworks which political parties would have to subscribe to and implement. You know, because I'll give you an example. One of the things that hurts me in this country is about the educational system. 3 years and 4 years. I've had the opportunity to teach. I have taught in a middle school before. I've taught in a secondary school before. And I've been teaching in a university level for almost 3 decades. Why should it just be a manifesto promise to change from 3 years to 4 years, or from 4 years to 3 years? Why? If we had a national policy on how our children will be educated. Should it be a politician's decision just to sleep on one side of their bed and wake up the next morning and say, I have made it 3 years? I mean, so this thing about NDPC, if we can let it work, then rezoning. The lady's conversation on rezoning is presuming that there is a zoning. You know, she's talking about who does rezoning.
Yeah.
There must first be a zoning. The assembly must have made a decision. The assemblies have what we call statutory planning committees. They should zone the places, land use. And in the past, even where areas have been zoned, your neighbor could just go to the assembly by himself or herself, and the next morning turn some nice residential area into a shopping mall. These days, if you get a proper zoning done, you want to change the zoning status, in some cases you have to go to the public hearing, in some cases you have to go to parliament. Provided there has been a zoning under the Land Use and Planning Act. That's why I was saying the woman's question is presuming that that area has actually been zoned. It is possible that that area is not zoned. So look at East Legon. Is it a residential area or a market?
Some streets are
No,
residential at the beginning, and then in the middle there's a block of shops and then more houses.
So is it a residential area or a market? Some architect who I don't know, but I read about him and what he has said on Joy FM. He said cantonments is in the process of becoming a slum. Cantonments.
Yeah.
And in fact, he says, by as for 10 years from now, cantonments will be like any other place. So her question on rezoning, who is making the determinations as to what should be done? I remember those areas, the cantonments and the Roman ridges, when I was in the Ministry of Lands. At that time, what was in vogue was a term called densification. You know, densification is simply to take out those one bungalow on 2 acres, sitting on piles, and populate the land. Now, this architect is saying that densification violates the original intendment of the developers of that area. So, who made the case for densification, and based on what?
Slept on one side of the bed.
So people sleep on one side of their bed, everything changes.
She also wants to know whether members of the community can determine
decide
the
where there is a
location of
road. It's the same question that we are talking about. You see, in this country, we confuse two things. One, land ownership and land use. You could be the owner of the land because of some customary arrangement that you have with the land, or some statutory arrangement. But land use is a question for the republic and its instrumentalities. What you do with land is not determined by the owner of the land. So where there is a road, it's not determined by the owner of the land.
Ampofo Indomi wants to know whether there's a point to having a council of state. What's the benefit?
That one is not on the table for this morning.
All right.
The matter of council of state, it should be another discussion 10 years from now.
So did you complete your answer on why chiefs or people who sell land twice?
So the multiple transaction.
Yes.
I was telling you that the police have made contact with me. And the plan is that I'll go back. I was part of the team that established the property fraud unit, trained them. So the Director General CID wants me to come back, do more training on this act, the new provisions for the police. And they are proposing to set up more offices for the property fraud unit across the country. And I think that where we are, the Lands Commission should also, as a matter of urgency, set up district offices where land activities are thick. Because you see, if everybody in the Greater Accra region is coming to 37, the propensity for bribes to be paid is high. I mean, this one, it's like there's a constraint in the service delivery. And if you want to open your doors, you may have to do something. But if the service is closer to where you are, and there are options for people to seek land services, the concentration in 37, and I still believe that we should separate the document processing center from the Lands Commission's regular offices.
Very important point. One of my big takeaways from our conversation. Kwame Gyan, I wish we could keep you all morning,